BPod Studios.
Al Horford.
This is Al Horford.
Al Horford catching slam.
Horford for three.
You're listening to the home of Boston Celtics basketball. 98.5, the Sports Hub.
It's the all-new Toucher and Hardy.
Whatever, man.
On 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. This hour of our show is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Mike Giardi covers the NFL for BostonSportsJournal.com. And he was all over this Senior Bowl stuff. And as you know, the Patriots have been making additions to their staff as Gerard Mayo takes control of the team. It's come out that Gerard Mayo had a $10 million buyout if he had not remain the coach of the Patriots. You've not gotten the head coaching job. A lot to cover. Mike Giardi. Hello, sir.
Hello, gentlemen.
What did you make of why were the Crafts so eager to keep Gerard Mayo? Was he that hot a coaching candidate? And is the $10 million buyout, did that kind of push them into a corner with maybe hiring him before they were totally ready to?
I think that Robert was convinced that Gerard was the right guy, and yeah, maybe it was a year earlier than they thought it was going to be, but if you consider it from Gerard's standpoint, like, if I'm going to sign this contract so that I won't interview anywhere else, and I'm eventually going to be the guy, and then you have this sort of season, well, it could be easy for them to walk away and say, well, you don't have anything in writing, so I think it was pretty wise to put it in writing, and at least,
for him it was. If I'm Gerard Mayo, of course. There's got to. I mean, I'm not signing anything unless there's a parachute for me. But why would the Crafts do that? Were they? Do you think Gerard Mayo would have for sure gotten another job? Like, that was necessary for them to do that?
I do not think he necessarily would have gotten another job. But I don't think that anybody thought they were going to go 4-13 this year. So they put that language in before in the off season when they trumpeted his return with the press release. I think they were they're convinced. Robert Kraft is convinced that Gerard Mayo is the guy to lead this organization for the next however many years. And, there's a personal relationship there between the two guys. And I don't think he was ever worried about having to enact a $10 million buyout because he was convinced that Gerard's the right person to take the job.
All right, so Alex Van Pelt is the new offensive coordinator, and they brought in a buffoon from the Giants.
Ben McAdoo.
That wears sunglasses, not even cool ones. But where do you think Van Pelt was in the pantheon of candidates to be the offensive coordinator? And if Gerard Mayo knew he would be getting this job, why is Alex Van Pelt the offensive coordinator of this team, and why is McAdoo involved?
Well, let's start with the latter first, right? So to me, you have this agreement with the Crafts that you signed, whatever it was, February of last year, March. So the idea was it was going to be a 2-year timetable, right? His contract is married up with Bill's. Bill would do 2 years. Bill would get the record, sail off into the sunset. Gerard takes over. Well, the season starts to go sideways. And one of the reasons the season started to go sideways, there's at least some percentage of it, is because there was dissension in the coaching staff because, some people looked at Gerard and said, that news had sort of filtered through. He's got the job and he's not acting maybe as if he should. Like Greg Bedard reported on that a little bit in terms of him rubbing people the wrong way. And it definitely led to a divide in the coaching staff, which wasn't, again, it contributed in part to what happened. I think.
Yeah, I had heard that Bill O'Brien was so happy that he did not enjoy the year in Foxborough.
He definitely did not, and you can tell by the fact that he jumped at the first opportunity to get out, to go back to college, which is crazy.
And he might take the BC job, because he wants to be in Boston. I guess Bill O'Brien really, really did not enjoy and it was the coaching. It was the very thing Giardi talked about. It was that it was just like chaos in that building. Apparently, like worse than we even know. Than we know, not Giardi.
I remember asking late in the year, Fred, about the Bill's relationship, asking Bill O'Brien about Girard and what he'd seen from Girard, and kind of gave me like a lukewarm answer and was like, well, we're on other sides of the building, and we, I'm like, you guys have been together now for 9-10 months. Like, if he felt strongly about Girard, he would have given a stronger answer there. So yeah, there were definitely some tensions there across the board. I think, and I think Bill O'Brien made it clear during the year several times, like, we're just the assistant coaches. This is Robert and Bill's show. What Bill says we do, and I think there was some feeling that maybe not everybody, jumped through walls when Bill told them to jump through walls. So I think that, kind of contributed to where they were at.
Okay, so wait. Let him finish. So there was this dissension in the coaching, but then why wasn't Mayo working on this then?
Oh,
like, how'd they get that? I know I asked you a long question. Go ahead. No,
and Fred, that's a really important point too, and I've sort of kind of asked around about it and haven't really got a good answer. Like, if you're Girard and that this is going to be your job, you're thinking 2 years, but it ends up in a year, and you could probably sense that midway through the year, maybe not even midway through, maybe after you lost to Dallas 38-3, and then the Saints 34-0. Like, this thing's coming sooner than later. You got to have a list. You got to have an idea and a plan. And instead, what happened was, I think they had an idea in terms of who they wanted to talk to, which was a lot of the McVay-Shanahan mold, and then they couldn't convince any of those guys that this was the job they wanted to take. I reported that and got some pushback from, it's still a great job and this is still one of the premier franchises. Yeah, there are 32 offensive coordinator jobs, so it's not exactly like they're growing on trees. Of course you're interested, but when you come into it and you're like, well, you don't have a quarterback, you don't have any receivers that anyone has to defend. You don't have a tight end currently signed for your roster. Your 2 tackles are probably gone. You're like, what exactly am I working with here? The head coach gets his 5-6 year contract. What am I getting? If we go average 13 points a game like Billy O'Brien did, I'm going to be out on a rail. And if I'm a 35-year-old, 40-year-old first-time OC, well, now I'm kind of screwed. Now I'm back to being a position coach and having to erase this mess that's been put on me for a year because I entered an organization that doesn't have a lot of pieces in offense and maybe doesn't necessarily have a plan. And then to your point, I think Alex Van Pelt was near the bottom of the list. I think Alex Van Pelt was part of the plan for the young coordinator and bring in an Alex Van Pelt to help the young coordinator. And instead, no young coordinator would take the gig. And you're like, well, Alex is pretty good. He's been around a long time. He's coached quarterbacks. Let's hire Alex.
And I think I don't doubt for a second that this isn't a desirable job, on a lot of facets of this team. But even for the Patriots, if they did want some, or if they did have some high caliber candidates who are interested in the job, then they have to be mindful of not creating another power structure problem by hiring a really qualified guy to come in and serve under a first-year head coach who hasn't coached anywhere other than the Patriots. So I'm not saying that Mayo's going to be a disaster, but it's a bit of a mess when you start assembling a staff when you've already decided on the head coach is going to be a guy and he's got the job locked up no matter what. And there's going to be some question as to how well he's going to do because he hasn't done it.
Yeah, 100%, which is why now Ben McAdoo is part of the process here. And I know we look at what happened in New York as the head coach, and it was not good. Okay, we can't sugarcoat that. But he's done a bunch of different jobs. In fact, he's one, unlike Alex Van Pelt, he recently called plays. He was the OC for Carolina in 2022, called plays that year, whereas Alex hasn't called plays for a full season since 2009. So I think McAdoo is here to help shape maybe the offensive direction. He's also the break glass in case of emergency. The Alex Van Pelt thing doesn't work as OC. Well, Ben's call plays. Ben, you go do it. And then, yeah, he's been a head coach, and he can sort of lend an ear and a voice to Giardi. Hey, like, you've never done this before. Like, this is how we did it. And, whether you want to do it that way or not is entirely up to you. But at least he has the experience of having done it before.
Mike, what's your opinion on the decision of Belichick's two kids? One stays, one goes back to college.
Yeah, so Brian's wife was like pregnant and due any day near the end of the season. So I wonder if that plays an impact in sort of his decision to want to stay closer to home and not uproot the his organization, if you will. And I think that's a good thing for the Patriots in the sense that he's a good coach. I mean, I've been saying it since I was coming in there every Tuesday for you guys during the season. Like, people can talk about the nepotism and all that stuff, but the respect that Steve and Brian had in the building for being good at what they did, like, it was across the board. I didn't really talk to anybody who was like, these guys are idiots. They shouldn't be coaching. No, they're NFL caliber coaches. So that's a positive for the Patriots keeping Brian. And for Steve, look, I mean, when Giardi was going to be the head coach, it was pretty clear that DeMarcus was going to be the defensive coordinator, DeMarcus Covington. And so if you're Steve, unless you're ascending to that sort of assistant head coach role, of which, again, he's never been a head coach, but to ascend to that role, be a little awkward. And even though, as I've reported, their relationship, Giardi and Steve's was a really good one, like, I don't know, your dad got blown out. There's a lot of crap being talked, and I don't know how that wouldn't impact him. And I think this is probably, I'm a little surprised he didn't get a job in the NFL, but to go out there with Jed Fish, who was here for a season, and to be given a chance to run his defense in college and to sort of step out on his own, it's probably a good thing for him. In fact, it's probably maybe the best thing he could have done. Get as far away from here as possible, go find success at Washington, and, then who knows, maybe a year or two, he's back in the NFL.
All right. Yeah, I thought it was, if he was my kid, I would tell him to get as far away as possible, get out of it and do it on your own. And it's a huge program, and you might as well. I thought that was a good move by him. But what do I know?
I would agree.
Yeah, John hates
Fred,
it.
Fred, you're incredibly intelligent, and John he's dim-witted. So, I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah, like frustratingly dim-witted. Like a real dope.
I mean, you consider the fact that you've had to deal with him for how many years now? You're decade plus, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of a hero.
That's what we all think.
Yeah, that's what that's how when I think of you and having to deal with Wallach, that's the first word that comes to my mind.
Fred Toucher, hero.
Yeah.
Bingo. Perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. There you go. Mike Giardi from BostonSportsJournal.com. We didn't even get to the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, we have an award-winning email segment, including people. They have the things to offer and insults to throw, and no Wallaholics this time, so that's good because they're feisty. We will have that for you in just a moment.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Lainey Wilson is on a roll. She's delivering great music and teaming up with some of country's hottest acts. Text Lainey to 45911 to see which 4 Lainey Wilson collabs have us talking at BackstageCountry.com. Text Lainey to 45911 to get a link to the list sent right to your phone from BackstageCountry.com.
On the air, online, on the air. This is how Boston sports fans start their day. Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You know, I got an idea for a bit. The email bit. We should do the email bit. It's a great idea. Let's do the email bit.
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy. And you can email John Wallach at jon@985thesportshub.com. He just got this information this week. He's been with this station since 2009. And he just realized that the other day. And the Wallaholics just don't understand why that would frustrate me. But the Wallaholics are dim and birds. So I take it as a compliment. All right, I will read mine, and then I will let you go to yours. I have 3. Joe from Saugus says, you ever watch Wings? You never mentioned it was pretty big during the early and mid-'90s. I mean, let's not go crazy with Wings, but I would imagine that you like the woman that ran the cafe, Hardy.
I did not watch Wings,
right,
so
well,
what is
take a look at her, because I'm going to get to you here, because I think this is, I think he missed the mark here because he gets to you. He goes, as to Hardy, I wonder if he also has a thing for Kelly Lynch.
Oh.
She's tall, white, bred, and flat-chested, so she's his type. Is Kelly Lynch flat-chested?
Oh, yeah.
I think she is. I think she is.
Oh, yeah.
The woman you're talking about is Crystal Bernard, I believe.
Yeah, Crystal Bernard seems like someone you'd like. She's a girl next door type. And John Walperson.
So, hold on just a second on Kelly Lynch here. Not only is she wonderful as the doctor kind of visiting the wrong side of the tracks by dating Dalton in Roadhouse, she does a wonderful turn in the movie where Jim Belushi and Curly Sue. She is the love interest in Curly Sue.
Oh.
Kelly Lynch.
Okay. You know who was a sex pot, just out of nowhere, is John Travolta's wife in Mischief. Ooh, remember that movie?
Kelly Preston.
Holly, Molly, talking about Kelly's. And John Walperson, is he a fan of any of the current crop of large butt models? Thank you, would love the show.
None, not one woman that's specific. No. I don't have the.
He is a master of improv. That's why the Wallaholics line up for John. Is there anybody with a big butt you like? You like big butts a lot? No. Good job.
Big booty hoe, big booty hoe, Sharika. I'm like, damn, that booty's huge.
All right, very good. This is from, good job, John. This is from Andy. He says, Chris Christie farted on Anderson Cooper. You will probably get word of this, but I didn't. Only from him, but at approximately 8:22 p.m. tonight, this was on Tuesday, Chris Christie farted while being interviewed by Anderson Cooper. Love the addition of Hardy, new life to the program.
Is that 8:22 Greenwich Mean Time? Are we Eastern Standard Time? We need to know exactly when it took place.
I guess the answer to say is I don't know.
Okay.
This is from Ned Bliss, which I only read his last name because it's annoying because he's a hippie. He says, hey, Fred, big GD, I guess that's Grateful Dead, and Fish fan here. Unlike the Aaron Rodgers crowd, I kind of enjoy you disliking and ripping bands I love. That said, the other day I heard you comment that Jerry was a terrible human being. What's that about?
Yeah, you know what? That kind of washed over me, too, and I didn't know if you had any more.
I do have stuff on that. I know you have the musical sensibilities of a 14-year-old suburban kid from the 80s. I mean, yeah, that's when you get your musical sensibilities. Yeah, what are you, like, into new age jazz? I mean, yes, you get your... I am from the suburbs, even though I would challenge my suburb against your suburb.
What do you think about people who are still at our age, like, seeking out new music? Did you hear this band?
I don't like that they generally try to get me fired. But why such vitriol for the fat man? Have you once had a bad experience with the mall Santa once upon a time? No, but I'll tell you why. Jerry Garcia, watch him talk about rap music. He's about the most racist mother effer of all time, even though he ripped off black music and poorly. And so you can hear him talk about that. And the myriad of dosing stories that go around about the Grateful Dead and how they just were like, oh yeah, you knew if you were backstage they were gonna dose you, and then you're like, no, that's not cool. And he lies about it too. There's a video going around where he's like, please don't, not now. I find it really distracting. So that's why I have a board. So in the rare occasion, finally it works.
Finally, there's something of use.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
good.
So the thing is that he's like, we made this cake and in the icing I put 1,000 hits of acid. No, you didn't. You didn't do that. You would kill everyone. Everyone would have wound up on a funny farm. I don't care how well you handle acid. You can find the biggest psychedelic freak in the world. The dude from Vice that does it for a living and he's going to lose his mind if he takes 1,000 hits of acid. Plus, your fat ass, that's a little rich of you to put it in the icing of the cake, considering you could probably destroy 4 of those, and then you had 4,000 hits of LSD in your body, which is not advisable. Right. And then also, on the third thing about Jerry Garcia being an awful human being, he ruined lives. That whole culture ruined like a phenomenal amount of lives. Like with the drug trade going on in the parking lots of that, for every kid that is went to boarding school and got out for the day in the Land Rover and experienced once, there's a bunch of acid casualties and derelict drug addicts that, as an excuse, followed the dead. Do you know the amount of crime and garbage that went on in those parking lots? For all you utopians, you got to go back to the boarding school. You got to go back to New Hampshire. You got to go back to Maine. You got to go back to Western Massachusetts. You got to go back to put the tie on and get back to class. Dad covered up the problems. But for the people that got swallowed up that didn't have that kind of financial backing, it ruined lives. How many girls that you guys probably knew? I won't ask you, John, because I know the answer will be you don't know. But, I mean, there had to have been people that you knew that were, like, beautiful, like girls, and then they became just deplorable drug addict losers because they started hanging out with and getting into the dead. It happened. Not that if you are a drug addict that you're a deplorable loser.
You could have stopped at dosing people. That's it. You can't do that. You can't give people hallucinogenics without their knowledge.
No,
and if you ever did that, then yes, horrible person.
I would imagine that's if anyone wanted to, that's a felony.
I got 2 emails today that really normally they just, I don't care. Whatever. Delete, whatever. It doesn't bother me. These pissed me off. It was during or right after the Kendra segment when we were quizzing her about 80s stuff. Mm. And one of the things that we gave her was if you have me up again there, Fred, I promise I won't play
I'm up. You're up. I put you up right away.
I won't play the Grateful Dead again. We asked her to identify this person.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
She did. She had no clue. She did not get it right. I don't even know that she had a guess.
She didn't know who Gorbachev was.
Well, then we started saying it was a president in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Okay?
And there's only 2 of them.
Right. And there's only 2 of them, right? I said it. You said it. Nobody disagreed.
Okay, who was a president in the 50s? None of us were alive. Even John, I will take away the joke. How many? Name a president in the 50s.
Eisenhower.
Good. There you go.
Exactly.
Okay. So 2 emails. Actually, 3 presidents during the 80s. Smart guy. That's from Michael McPherson. Then Dave Sullivan. 3 presidents in the 80s. Sorry, for some reason.
They're not counting Carter.
I'm not counting a lame duck president for 3 weeks in January of 1980 as Jimmy Carter.
Reagan won the election. He became president in 1980.
Right.
Yeah. And he was president. He won again in 84. Mm-hmm. And then Bush was president in 88.
Correct. If you want to get
that's ridiculous.
I'd say it's ridiculous.
Hairs.
It is
that's
splitting hairs.
Like that threw her off. Like if she would have said Jimmy Carter, then you have a point. But
I would have said,
threw off the scent.
I would have said that's impressive, Kendra. You're right. He was president for a period of a couple of weeks
in
1980.
He's a mansplainer.
But that... Okay, maybe I am.
That's called gotcha.
But I don't know why that pissed me off. There's 3 presidents in the end.
Because it's stupid. Because it's stupid, and it had nothing to do with the bit. And it's. But if that's pissing you off, I could welcome you into my world of what I get from people.
I actually remember Jimmy Carter as president. We went as a class trip to downtown Detroit, where God, would it have been all 3 of them? Like campaigning in 1979 with that? No, Carter wouldn't have been there. It was Ronald Reagan, and there was an independent running. I think his name was John Anderson.
Yes.
I mean, if you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. We weren't even going to talk about it that much until those 2
The only thing I remember
emailed.
about his administration is we just had a big vat of gasoline in our living room. We were just silly with gasoline.
You were hoarding. You were gasoline hoarders.
My father would just hoard gasoline.
My dad did that too. Only it was in the garage.
I actually am
Not
joking. I
smart.
don't remember anything
My father
about it.
actually had canisters of gasoline.
We had it right by the
in
water heater.
garage. Yep.
We just did a big old thing by the pilot light.
Those are the only two I wanted to contribute. Wallach?
We have two here. Hey, John, tell Hardy and Fred to check out Julie Benz, the perfect combination of Sofia Vergara and Julie Bowen. So apparently,
How are we spelling Benz? B-E-N-Z?
B-E-N-Z.
Oh.
You told me she's a hot tamale?
Apparently.
She was
Apparently
in
she is. I've seen
Dexter,
pictures.
Jawbreaker.
Lone Star 911, I'm seeing here.
Oh, she was in Boondock Saints 2, All Saints Day.
Perfect.
Yeah, I know who she is.
Perfect. And this one from Clarence, I don't think I read this yesterday. So I had to email you, meaning me. Fred said so. All hail Fred. Stop pooping on my windshield. Goddamn bird. Love you, Clarence.
Yeah, but you're not going to listen to him, right?
No.
You're going to continue to defecate
Poop on his windshield. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know who this lady is. She's good looking. She's 51 years young.
Oh, wait a second. Damn it.
What's the problem?
No, Peter Mancuso Esquire has corrected all three of us.
What happened?
Carter was president for the entirety of the year 1980.
Yeah.
Because the election is in 80 and then okay, well I forgot about that part.
No, that's what I said. I said
Yeah,
that
you're
I
right.
said that I said that in November. I didn't say November, but I thought it was without saying. Yes. That Reagan won the 1980 election. That's what I said. Just during this segment I said that.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was too enraged to listen to what you said.
But that
accurately.
still is not talking.
I give it a little bit. Fred.
But it has nothing to do with what Kendra did. There was
No.
two. If you said there's two presidents in the 80s and you're not on Jeopardy, it kind of like, yeah, you're right. It was Reagan and Bush. I mean, if you want to get because they in 76 is when and then you know who did a very funny Jimmy Carter impression?
Oh, I know.
Dan Aykroyd. Woo!
Well,
it was hot off the press.
Chevy Chase's Gerald Ford was next level.
Because Gerald Ford one time slipped on stairs, and then so that
And
was
Chevy
the big
Chase
joke.
fell down on TV and then took painkillers for 15 straight years afterward.
15 for 50. And by the way, congratulations on John finding Little Chocolate Donuts to be a funny Saturday Night Live bit that stands up today.
If you really want to get people infuriated, I would argue that 1980 is not even in the 80s. It's the last year of the 1970s.
I don't want to cause this kind of controversy.
Well, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're talking about a decade, 10 years.
Now it just sounds like you're trying to cover up your mistakes.
There was no year zero. It started with year one.
I can't see the phones. Who's on the phones? You tell me. You turn on the mic and you tell me.
Sorry, Rick says Hardy is very wrong. Line
All
one.
right.
I know. I screwed it up.
All right, Rick, go ahead.
Oh, God.
Hey, boys. How's it going?
Go ahead.
While I agree with you in principle, it's definitely just Reagan and Bush the first. It's that guy stole my thunder. But, yeah, 53 weeks of the 80s, he was president.
Okay.
Wait,
The first
53?
52
Oh,
and,
wait.
but he was,
No.
He was the worst of the three, so it doesn't really matter.
Wait, no. Oh, yeah, because he went into 81. Okay, because the election
For
was
the
in
first
80.
55
Right.
weeks of the 80s.
Right. So, but he was a lame duck president for November and December, and
That's
then okay. Congratulations,
Yeah, the
that is
worst of
true.
the three.
I would argue he was a lame duck for the last 2 years of his
But he
presidency.
built so many houses.
There was no way he was going to get reelected.
Absolutely.
He built so many
And
houses.
his brother introduced us to Billy Bear.
Yes, and do you know he looks good, Jimmy Carter, right now? They just trotted him out for something.
That's sad.
He's,
That's
102,
really, really
103?
sad.
How old is he?
I mean, it's just sad to think.
You
that
ask him.
If we live that long, that's where we're all headed.
It's the curse of being human. We're the only sentient beings that are aware of our own imminent demise.
A lot of presidents have a lot of ne'er-do-well brothers. This is something that's been going on for a while. Jimmy, Roger Clinton.
Did you ever hear when the guys? I forget, this is probably for off air, but did you ever hear when the
Jeb Bush?
Mm-hmm.
They talk the oh hello guys talk about the Jimmy Carter's daughter when Mulaney does the thing.
No, they have an Amy Carter bit.
Yeah, it's pretty good. the way those guys can reach back and just grab stuff, and it's creepy. He does an Amy Carter thing that's like funny. It's creepy though. He's George St. Geeklin. He's doing a thing. All right, when
all
we come
that
back,
all that rage and all that rant, and I totally forgot that it was an entire year of the '80s. Egg on my face.
This is going to stick with Hardy too because
he
does not get over things well. I've learned.
Well, but when I'm
They
like
stick with him.
when I'm so like adamant about something, and I'm so wrong. I admit that I'm wrong, and I feel shamed and embarrassed and humiliated.
You know, someone is the center of the universe. Maybe we should go back and start working some things again. Get our head back in place. Come on.
Step time.
Step time. All right. We'll be back with the stack. I won't ask you what's coming up because I know that you're flustered.
I know what's coming up.
All right. What's coming up?
The stack.
All right. We'll be back. Here are the headlines.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Wondering who made our list of the top 5 all-time queens of country music? Did Carrie Underwood make the cut? Find out now when you text Queens to 45911 and scroll through the list on BackstageCountry.com. Text Queens to 45911 to see the talented artists who rounded out our top 5 list.
Toucher, Hardy.
You get used to sitting back and letting Daddy drive the car.
98.5 The Sports Hub. We know what you're thinking. What could I possibly have missed from the show? It's time for The Stack on Toucher and Hardy.
I think Boomer and Gio are doing the Drew Barrymore show. They are doing the Drew Barrymore
Look
show.
at that. I'm surprised she hasn't been shunned for keeping the show going during the writer's strike. That was a big issue, wasn't it?
I'm surprised she hasn't been shunned for becoming very unattractive.
Drew Barrymore?
You can't like Drew Barrymore. She's far too voluptuous. Come on. That's no girl next door. That's a girl with a past.
Lenny Clark tells a very funny story about being at Studio 54 and having like Coke spread out on the table, and one of the guys he is with, like sitting there, and Lenny's like, they're all hanging out and they're doing blow off the table, and Drew Barrymore is like a 12-year-old, like roaming around, coming up to the table and having drinks, and Lenny says to the guy, "Jeez, put the Coke away. There's a kid here," and the guy says, "It's her Coke."
Oh, Jesus. Now,
where do you think it came from? Honey, how you doing? It's Lenny.
When Lenny Clark, when Studio 54 existed, Lenny Clark was famous enough to be getting in and doing Coke there?
I don't know that Lenny Clark has ever not been famous. He's one of those guys who just comes out of the womb demanding attention.
No, I'm going to say that there's been a long time that Lenny Clark hasn't been famous.
He's got a big role on that new sitcom, with the Wick Grosbeck show.
Listen, Lenny Clark's been on shows and been good on shows that I really, really like. In fact, The Job, the situation comedy about the police station that Dennis Leary did with the guy he ultimately ended up doing the fireman show with, I thought was fantastic. Rescue Me with. Yeah. I thought that The Job was a fantastic show. And I thought Lenny Clark was great on it. I like Lenny Clark. I'm not belittling him. I'm just saying Drew Barrymore's 49 because she's my age. So that would be 1987 that Lenny Clark, I'm going to say Studio 54 might not have been around, and I'm calling Lenny Clark a liar.
Okay. All right. Well, have him on the
He won't come on the show, unfortunately.
He won't?
No, his allegiance is elsewhere. And he's always like, I hate the show I do, but I love your show, but I can't do it. I don't know. And then I'm like, all right.
Oh.
I mean, he comes in and sits down and talks, but he won't come on the air.
I'm sure like your kids and your kids, Wally,
are huge Lenny Clark fans.
Completely unimpressed with what we do. The only thing that truly impresses them is that I'm friends with Lenny. When he pops up on TV, like in a movie or something, it's like, that's your friend. That's your friend. Yeah, that's him. All right. There was a news story popping up yesterday, gentlemen, about something going wrong at a local Shaw's supermarket. I didn't know what it was until we got off the air yesterday, but do I know now.
Employees at this Shaw's say the kids who have been infiltrating this supermarket by the dozens don't have any respect or any regard. The principal at Medway Middle School says the disruptive behavior being carried out by the mob of students includes building forts out of paper towels, riding around in carriages, and toppling over displays.
All right, one, they're carts, not carriages. Stop pretending that you're in another country. They're called carts. They're shopping carts. And also, this is this was how we did. That's how we killed time when I was an adolescent. Before I was a teenager, from the ages of probably 11 to 13, 11 to 14 probably, maybe 11 to 15, before I could drive, we would walk, go into stores, and deliberately get kicked out. That's how we spent it, and then make bombs and light thing and make napalm. I mean, these are the things that we did. We were bored.
Did you do the tennis ball can bombs? Did you make those with the lighter fluid?
Yeah, and then we made the Anarchist Cookbook tennis ball bombs. I told the story. So you take what they do is they say you cut open a tennis ball. Inside you put sandpaper, and then you take a bunch of wooden matches and cut the tops off and just put the fuses in. And the idea is that when you throw it against a wall, it will burst into flames. Well, obviously that didn't work well enough. So what we ended up doing is just pouring gasoline all over tennis balls and letting them on fire. But my friend who's
slightly
a doctor,
less elegant.
My friend who's a doctor now, I've told this story a million times, had this concoction from the Anarchist Cookbook that he would put in the gallon jugs of milk, the plastic jugs. And immediately when he added the second ingredient, it would start heating up. He'd shove it in a mailbox, and then you'd have to run, and it would explode like the Dickens. And then, so I got scared, and I stopped doing it with him. And his last hurrahs, they went to this kid's house, and they just dumped gasoline on a tree and lit it on fire. And then they used to, screw with this kid, and I was too much of a wimp. I did not want anything to do with this. They lit the tree on fire. And then the fire just took off up this big-ass tree, and, they thought it was just going to stop, and it did not stop. The garage door opened. The family left in a car. They were hiding in bushes across the street. It was in the local Farmington Observer newspaper. It was, arsons, and then he stopped. That was the last hurrah.
It wasn't like arson.
It was arson. No. But he, there's arson, and then there's felony arson where you could murder someone.
Yeah.
And that was his last hurrah. I was not with him for that. The last thing we did was the jug of chemicals that exploded when and I'm like, how did you know it wasn't going to explode in your hand? Because you're not lighting it, remember? It's just a chemical reaction. And he's like, oh, no, dude, you got 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, oh, this doesn't sound good. And now he's a doctor in Colorado. This hour of Toucher and Hardy is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. The Stack is brought to you by Best Ford in Nashville. Looking for great deals on a new Ford? Go to the Best Ford in Nashville. For more info at thebestfordinNashville.com. Just real quick, did you ever make napalm? It's just styrofoam and gas.
No.
But we would make napalm, and then we would light it on fire. And the thing about napalm is it just doesn't burn out. And then we would get bored and just leave it.
Ba-dum-bum-bum. Kids.
But so many of my friends who had to go to the fire department on weekends for a month, to go because they got caught, lighting stuff. I never got caught. I was never the worst one of them. I was always kind of on the fringes. My son's like, do you want to play paintball? And I'm like, no. And then he's like, why? And I'm like, all right, I'll play. But I'm like, paintball was different when I was a kid.
No, there weren't paintball. There's no flamethrowers.
There were not paintball facilities.
Yeah.
There were kids when you were walking down the street shooting you with a paintball gun. All right, we will be right back. We'll do the famous crossover that everyone loves.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Country music has so many generous artists who always seem to jump in to help those in need. We're spotlighting 5 who lead by example and lend a helping hand to charitable causes. See who made our list when you text GIVE to 45911. Text GIVE to 45911 and read all about it right now on BackstageCountry.com.
Zolak and Bertrand get you through the workday at 10. Right now, it's Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy, and out there in Las Vegas, Nevada, is Zolak and Bertrand. Hello, boys.
Hey, what's up?
How is Vegas?
It's good.
I went to Guy Fieri's last night and had a steak.
Where's Guy Fieri's?
It's in the Link, I think.
Really?
Yeah, over by Caesars, because we're trying to go to the NFL shop to get some gear. And how bad was the traffic last night?
I've never seen traffic like this.
The wait for an Uber or a taxi
was an hour.
Was over an hour.
You'd have to wait an hour. And so even if you do what I was with Big Jim and Felger and Maz, and we were going out to dinner, and so we went upstairs to where, like the car service guys gather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we paid one of those guys a large sum of money after having tried to wait for a car for like a half hour.
Yeah.
And even once you got in the car, you couldn't go anywhere. We were stuck in the the rotunda in front of the hotel for like 15 minutes. We couldn't even get out to the street. It was nuts.
Hardy, it was like when in Notting Hill, remember when he was trying to find Julia Roberts at the end? And the crazy guy with the woman in the wheelchair, they were driving, and Spike stopped traffic.
Yeah.
It was like that. One of those moments.
Now Felger was hinting around yesterday that he was going to take hallucinogens tonight before he went to U2. Did you go out to dinner with him? Was he eating peyote?
There were various options available at the table before departing the restaurant. Yes.
All right, so he was it was not so much they got drunk. He's not going to be hungover today as so much as his mind will have expanded.
Yes.
He'll have realized the nature of our being.
I don't know what he did after the U2 show, but I would imagine he'll be in decent shape today.
Yeah, because, you don't get a hangover from those hallucinogens, Hardy. You just get a new perspective on things. What if Felger came on and he was like, Alex Van Pelt's the new offensive... it doesn't matter, man. We're all just atoms on a plane.
I was thinking about this. Yeah.
This is an infinite universe, man. Like, this is just... We're wasting time. We should be discovering what the meaning of this is.
Have you guys sent anybody over to give us a massage?
No, that was he doesn't have a pass anymore.
You would like it too much. I think Fred considered it, but it was like, no, Zolak will have him sit down and join him for his segment and ruin the bit.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about Capello's waddle over. He doesn't really run. He has that waddle.
How pissed is Capello?
Oh, God. We had Jake from Boston on yesterday with his bedazzled thing. It was 2 days ago.
Yeah, we saw it.
Capello had his arms up, flaring. What are we doing? What are we doing here? What are we doing?
But how pissed is he about the massage guy?
Now
or then? He's shrugging right now.
Right now, I don't think he's pissed now.
Okay.
Well, what we was going to do is if it was the
water
day,
under the bridge.
I didn't make up the massage thing. And he was just like, I'll just do it because I want to get kicked out of here anyway. It's my last day. But he was if yesterday was the day after they went out, he was gonna go up to him, find out where they had gone out, and he was gonna go up to him and talk like he had met them the night before, and just sit down on the show and say, "You promised that I could sit on the show," and then it would have been a whole thing.
Yeah.
But instead, he gave him a little massage. That was all. All right, gentlemen.
All right, guys.
All right. Have a wonderful show. Enjoy Las Vegas, Nevada. One day
Busy
left.
Day. Busy day. Left. Can't wait to come home. See you.
All right. See you guys later. Then you're on now because there will be no commercials here, just the headlines. That'll do it for us. Bye.